Welcome to Get Your Rocks Off with Mick Wall, the world's leading rock and metal writer. Each fortnight, Mick will unpack rock and roll stories. Stories that you probably won't find in print. So pour yourself a Jack and Coke and get ready to get your rocks off.
Okay, welcome back. I always fuck these bits up. What is you start, John? You start.
Welcome to Get Your Rocks Off.
Yeah, the first in our new series of
Weekly Get Your Rocks Offs.
weekly podcast.
Just like Kerrang back in the day.
Yes,
We've gone weekly due to public demand.
yes, due to popular demand.
Popular demand, that's it, not public demand.
No. And I've forgotten what I was going to say. Carry on, John.
Yeah, well, this is the big spiel. This is the join us every week.
Oh, sorry, yes. Join us
with you
every week.
Every single
Every
week.
single week.
It's going to be on a Thursday. Every episode comes out on a Thursday.
That's
ruthlessly professionally.
Ruthlessly professional.
A Thursday. Just
Yes.
remember,
Yes.
Thursday.
It's appointment podcast
It is,
time.
that's right. You can listen to it on other days.
But yeah,
But if you want
no, you can repeat.
Exactly,
listens.
but if you want it fresh out of the can.
Out of the can.
Yeah.
Like a worm.
Thursday.
Like a load of worms
Yeah,
coming
that's-
out of a can straight into your ear.
Thursday is the day. It's
Yes.
like the day that Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 came out.
That's right.
And people lined up around the block.
They
just to-
did. Well,
yeah.
it's the same thing because it comes out at midnight.
Yeah,
or
it
1
comes out
second
midnight. It
past
comes out at midnight. Yeah, Tower Records is open at 1 second past midnight.
That's right.
So you can hear Get Your Rocks Off.
Yeah, and if you're not here, we will know.
Well, if you're not here, yeah.
We will know because we won't be here either after a while. Right, so we're going to kick off this new era in podcast fantasticity.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to kick off with one of our early episodes. We did one of the greatest frontmen of all time, part 1.
Yeah, yeah.
This is now going to be greatest frontman of all time, possibly greatest frontman of all time ever,
Ooh.
at least in his mind.
What?
We're going to be talking about W. Axl Rose.
Bill Bailey, as was that his name? Bill Bailey, William Bailey.
Well, see, immediately,
Because
there's
then it made me
controversy.
think
You're
of
starting controversy,
that bloke-
spreading lies.
No, it's suddenly in my head.
and ripping off the kids.
What came into my head was Bill Bailey. Wasn't he the bloke who was on Strictly Come Dancing?
I'm going to have to keep talking.
Okay. Bill Bailey. He's a kind of gnomish looking man with straggly hair. And he, had one of those careers where you kind of know who he is. You see him on the TV from time to time. He does various, quiz shows. Have I got news for you?
All
Or
right, you can stop
QI.
now.
Bill Bailey. But then all of a sudden he was on Strictly Come Dancing and he won. And I thought, Bill Bailey, that is his name, isn't it?
Let me
Bill
help you
Bailey.
here. Let me help you here. That guy on Strictly Come Dancing, that's not Axl.
No, I know it's not Axl, but he's got the same name as Axl.
Well, he's got one of the names Axl has had because Bailey was the surname of Axl's stepfather, L. Stephen Bailey.
Oh, is he a bit like L. Ron Hubbard?
Very similar. I mean, he was a Pentecostal minister
Ooh.
who spoke in tongues, believed in corporal punishment.
Beatings.
Capital punishment is where you actually
Beating.
kill the fucker, right?
Spare the rod, spoil
Spoil the child.
Spoil the child.
Well, let's just say Axl wasn't spoiled when he was a kid because L. Stephen would beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
But that was his stepfather.
Right.
His real
father.
biological father was William Rose.
Okay. Now I'm with you.
So, in fact, William or Bill or Billy, whatever you want to call him, has always been his name. Rose was his original biological
A rose
father's
by
name.
any other name.
But because his mother married L. Stephen,
Yeah. It's not. Let's make this clear. L. Stephen is the letter L. It's not. He's not sort of Mexican. L. Stephen.
El Stevano.
El Stephen. Here he comes on his horse and like
from the cartel.
Yeah, from the Mexican
not
cartel.
El Steven.
Those guys don't put up with any shit. Talk about Axl not taking any shit. Your Mexican cartel guy. There's a guy you can't really negotiate with.
El Capitano.
Yeah.
El Steven.
Yeah. Negotiations were concluded swiftly.
When he made me an offer, I couldn't understand.
Yeah.
So we've kind of. I don't really like to start at the beginning, but we've kind of started at the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's establish some credentials here for Axl Rose, okay, as one of the greatest frontmen of all time, possibly the greatest.
Yeah.
So,
well, it depends
first
on your
of all,
criteria, doesn't it?
Well, let's establish some criteria. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying
good.
His fans are so fanatical. You can say that about all rock fans, but I think Axl Rose's fans, a significant proportion of them, they're almost like Trump supporters, in the sense that he can, whatever he does, he was it Trump said I could shoot someone dead on Fifth Avenue and I'd get away with it.
You can just grab them by the pussy and they won't do anything.
Well, especially if you've just shot them on Fifth Avenue, there's not much they're going to do.
Yeah.
In the sense that, whatever he does, they are able to justify it. And yes, of course, you can say that about lots of singers and their fans. But in the case of Axl Rose, here's a guy who isn't, in inverted commas, crazy like Ozzy Osbourne or a wild shaman out there on the periphery like Jim Morrison.
Yeah, Ian Astbury.
Even better. That wild child.
Ian
and his fire woman.
Yeah,
Wolf child, baby.
Call me Wolf Child, for that is my name. You won't get a better lyric than that. Axl's not done a better one than that.
No, I don't think Axl's ever been Wolf Child.
No.
But there's still time.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Time's
running short for
I don't detect a note of cynicism.
No, I just think Axl's kind of one of those guys who's over the years has come to take himself more seriously. And he didn't take himself that lightly in the beginning, did he?
I was going to say, did he ever not take himself seriously?
But I think as the years have gone on,
he's become even more serious.
Some people become a knowing caricature of themselves, don't they?
Right,
and it's kind of fun when they do it. You might say Tom Jones or someone.
Alice Cooper.
Yeah, they kind of embrace the fact that persona is what people want to see. Mm. Whereas Axl, to me, that's not what he's done over the years. He's become more sort of serious and Eddie Vedder-like.
Yeah. I mean, I would say...
An artiste.
He is an artiste. I think he's the most serious rock star I've ever met, ever known, ever worked with.
But do you not think, to get back to your criteria, what we're talking about in terms of criteria is... He's a brilliant rock star. That's the reason he's brilliant. He's not the best singer. I mean, he's an okay singer. He's got a slightly strange voice.
Well, he's got more than one voice, let's be fair.
You can identify his voice straight away. You're not sort of going, well, he's like Ronnie Dio or something. He's you can...
No one.
No.
No one.
No one was like...
No one is like
But I mean,
Ronnie Dio.
Ronnie Dio, Tony the Cat Martin, all those guys.
All the greats.
All the greats. But
all your vocal greats.
Yes. But equally, he's not like David Lee Roth, where it's purely about the showmanship. He's kind of in that middle ground as a vocalist.
Yeah.
He's probably in that middle ground as a writer. Probably the real kind of genius writer in Guns was Izzy. He would come up with the real memorable bits a lot of the time. But where he is amazing is at his peak, he was the greatest rock star on earth. Everything about him was fantastic. He was mad. He was rich. He did whatever the fuck he wanted, and he didn't care who knew about it. That, to me, was the glory of Axl Rose. And then he disappeared.
Yeah.
Like all great rock stars, he disappeared for 10 years.
But here's the thing. I'm trying to think of other badass singers. There, of course, are many. But I don't know, like Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy was regarded as, famously when roadies would apply for the job, he wouldn't ask them what other bands they'd worked with or what their skills were on the desk or lighting. It was, can you fight?
Yeah.
And if they could fight, they were
They were
halfway
in.
to getting the
Yeah.
job. That's not Axl. Or crazy, like I mentioned, Ozzy, or people that we regard as, wow, he's really out there. That ain't Axl.
Yeah.
He's more out there. I don't like that word crazy, because I like the word crazy, but I don't think it applies to Axl. But
No, it's not the Aussie sense or the Motley Crue sense.
He's
of,
not
you know,
Motley Crue. This is not a wild man of rock.
Yeah.
This is a deeply troubled
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, very much
Of
so.
rock.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think in that regard, even when he's entirely wrong and to the point of self-harming either himself or his career, he's still right.
Oh,
because
that's right. Yeah, because those kind of great acts of self-sabotage that he so
Yeah.
constantly pulled off actually made him greater. He got to that point where no matter what he did, it made him bigger. So if he turned around and said, I'm not playing in a city that begins with P,
Right.
because my spirit guide has told me
Yoda.
that this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of made him even big. It was like, oh wow, why has he done that?
But you know why that is, I think, is because it was genuine. It
Yes,
was
yeah,
honest.
yeah. It wasn't put on. Yeah,
It wasn't,
Yeah. He really did think if he played in a city that began with
Yeah.
P, or I think it was M, wasn't it? Wasn't it M?
It
Was 'cause-
wasn't. Lemmy once said to me, I hate those rock stars. It's like, oh, no one leaves the room till we find David's glove. You know, when you and I have met many like that.
Yeah,
That ain't Axl.
yeah, yeah.
But Axl was likely to be, no one leaves this room until we've had a urine sample.
I mean, yeah,
and
he
we've
was
checked your personality
Exactly. He was
profile.
going down that road of all the kind of huge, the Michael Jackson route, you might call it,
Or Elvis.
where reality just no longer plays a role.
Well, he has a new reality.
A new reality takes its place.
He has,
absolutely, yeah,
but
yeah.
it is reality.
Yeah.
Is my point.
Well, yeah, in that, Neverland was reality to Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But it,
Well, I hear. No, I hear what you're saying. I just think Axl has his own peculiar in the finest sense of the word, meaning unique, specific. I don't mean oddball. I mean very specific reality, which my feeling is that is reality for Axl.
Oh yeah,
It's
again,
not
it
like
goes back to the cities beginning with a certain letter. He genuinely,
I'm gonna get past that.
because he genuinely didn't want to do it.
But because he believed it would be a
exactly,
bad thing.
Exactly, to him it made perfect sense, and I
Right.
suppose that's what we're trying to say. But I don't think it started like that. I mean, I think, as we've said on several of these podcasts, when you look back now with a kind of 2020 eye on the background of a lot of the guys who were around in the mid 1980s, they did have these really difficult, troubled lives that now we would say, okay, I understand why you behave that way, because you've had this trauma
And it
and
wasn't
you're
as if he-
trying to deal with it.
And it wasn't as if he kept it quiet.
No,
I mean,
no.
A lot of these guys, you have to dig real deep to find out what that moment was that made them
Whereas,
special.
well,
put it that way.
Exactly. Whereas with Axl, it did become apparent quite quickly. But what I'm thinking
But
of,
he always talked about. He talked
Exactly,
about
yeah.
childhood abuse. He talked about the therapy he was
he
in.
did, but this was kind of, I think, unnecessarily. This was after Appetite became big, I would say, to the kind of general population, because it had this kind of terrific anger to it that made it real. I mean, what I was thinking about when I was coming over here was starting off at. I remember starting at Kerrang, and this was I started in 1987, so it's about the time they're coming along. And
Appetite was released in August.
July. So
87?
I started in about, I think, February or March. So it was before it had come out. And I remember, clear as day, clear as a bell, me old gun, going to the office. And the office was in what they now call the Black Cat building. If you go to Mornington Crescent Tube in London.
North London.
Yeah, opposite the Tube.
Near Camden Town.
Near Camden Town. It's at the bottom of Camden High Street.
Opposite the massage parlour, which I never went in.
There were, I don't think that's there. I don't think.
Only one way to find out.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Wear a mask. Kids wear a mask.
There's a huge kind of. It was a former factory, and it has two giant. It has stairs
Used to
going
make
up to it.
cigarettes, didn't it?
Cigarettes. A grand staircase going up to it. Two big black cats, Egyptian cats, sat outside. Black Cat Building, and as you go in, the odd thing about the Black Cat Building was it's hollow in the middle, so it was like a square that you could only walk around the outside of it. And I remember going into the Kerrang office. One of the first people I run into, I've been there, a couple of days or whatever, doing whatever I'm doing, Malcolm Dome. And Malcolm comes in ranting and raving about two bands. And you'll laugh when I tell you that.
AKA Mad
Malcolm
Dome.
He's got two cassettes. He's doing his million miles an hour talking to Jeff Barton, the editor, going, well, I've got this and I've got this. And he puts the two tapes down, and one was Faster Pussycat.
Oh,
and
I
one
like
was
them.
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And they were head to head. They were the two tapes that at Kerrang people were trying to get hold of to listen to, because you'd heard that this is coming and this is good. And if anything, Faster Pussycat were maybe even slightly ahead, because Take Me Down, the singer, ran the club in LA, the Cat House, I think it was called. So he was always kind of slightly famous. His partner in the Cat House was Ricky Rackman, who was on MTV. And
I think it's a bit chicken and egg for me. I think Ricky began hosting Headbangers Ball after the Cat House.
Something
but I'm
like
probably wrong.
Whatever
Sorry,
it
Ricky,
was,
if
but
I'm
they were people that were a bit more known than Guns N' Roses.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
The first thing I remember again seeing of Guns N' Roses was that classic black and white promo shot.
Yeah.
That the record company sent out, and it was Axl in the middle in the cut off T-shirt, and he was kind of killer thin back in those days. And Slash, don't even know if Slash had the top hat at that point. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Can't really remember. But they were all sort of looked kind of like cowboy guys. They looked really good. And heard the record, and it was great. And then they turned up to play the marquee shows, and that was their first sort of.
That was it. Although I tell you what, funny, I'd forgotten about Faster Pussycat. I remember hearing Appetite for the first time. I'd had the single "It's So Easy," which I thought was great, and then I listened to Appetite, and I got waylaid by what to me were the obvious influences, which. When you're in your 20s, this stuff really matters. You kind of feel like you've heard it all before.
Well, what you're trying to do is set it in context, aren't you? You're hearing this buzz about these bands, and it's not as if it was just Faster Pussycat and Guns N' Roses. There were loads of other bands as well. So all the time you're trying to grab hold of those and go, okay, I understand this, it's a bit like that. I understand this, it's a bit like this. That's the nature of criticism.
Well, my feeling was that I could see where the strings on the puppets were.
Yeah.
But younger people could only see the puppets, and that is the way of the world. But nevertheless, it tainted my initial reaction to it, because I found it at that. I feel foolish saying it now, but I found it at that moment quite derivative. You're talking to a guy right now who's a big Iggy Pop fan, a guy who loved the New York Dolls, a guy who loved. First time around MC5 or early Zeppelin.
All that stuff meant nothing to me.
Because you're too young, my boy.
It was
too
really
young.
but when I heard it, because it's one of that, when you
were like 20 or something when it came out.
But when you kind of backtrack on influences and you find a band you like, let's take Guns N' Roses as an example, and they go, and our influences. I mean, you hear the Queen influence or the whatever, which comes along maybe slightly later, but they go, oh, it's the MC5 and the Stooges. And you go and listen to them and you go, but that's crap, but that's rubbish. That's not,
No, I know.
Because
I know.
you can't
You're right.
reproduce that.
You're absolutely
You can't
right.
yeah.
I'm just explaining why I initially...
I've completely... What you're saying is, I was old, man. You're saying I was old. I came into the office, they said, hello, Mick, do you want your cup of tea now?
I said, not until you play Wishbone Ash, Argos, side 3.
Side 3 and side 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that order.
Yeah. And then come and talk to me about...
Then talk to me about tea.
Tea, exactly.
So what I was trying to set up was the fact that... Because the marquee...
It was all old hat to you.
When I used to go to the marquee...
Nick, listen. He's now going to tell you he went to the marquee. Mick Wall didn't go to the marquee. Not unless there was a limo.
I lived
Not
at the fucking marquee for 10 years before you came along.
Yeah, exactly. In the 10 years. When I was there, Mick Wall didn't go to the marquee.
Well, not
Mick
anymore.
Wall, were you there the night?
Well, let me ask you this. Did Guns N' Roses ever play the marquee again? Neither did Mick Wall.
Oh, yeah, good point. I was going to say to you, do you remember the night? Talking of influences and so on, Tiger Tales. Do you remember Tiger Tales, the Welsh glam
I
rock
remember you
band?
had a thing with their guitarist Pepsi.
Pepsi. He was the bass
You were like
player.
Shirley to
Oh,
his
Shirley
Pepsi.
to Pepsi was a lovely guy. Sadly, no longer with us. A really nice guy. But they had a singer called Stevie James, who was an Axl Rose type. And
In what way was he an Axl
well, he was
Rose type?
a wannabe. He was an Axl Rose wannabe. He had the sort of sticky up hair and the cut off t-shirt.
Everybody
It
had
ended
sticky
there.
up hair
It
and
ended there.
t-shirts.
It ended. Yeah, but how long did Axl keep it for? Not long. That's what I was going to say about those promo shots. Probably by the time they arrived at the marquee, they ditched that.
Because it was too hard to do the
keep,
hair.
Yeah, to keep doing it.
He used to have biatches doing his hair for him.
Yeah.
And, quite quickly, and I know as someone that used to have sticky up hair, not like Axl,
Yeah.
because that was...
Yeah, no, you
that
did.
was
You
rock
had
star-
that. You had the. You
I had
did have,
the what's
you did.
called a layered...
Well, we can't even call it a mullet these days.
No,
isn't it?
no,
Yeah,
no, no,
mulleted.
no,
cut
no,
back
no.
behind.
No,
Don't
no,
break
no, no.
my heart, my
No.
achy breaky
No.
heart. One of those,
No.
as seen on numerous ice hockey players.
No, in my case, it was more of a Rod Stewart. It was more of a Rod Stewart.
Of course it was.
It was much more of a
course it was.
Rod Stewart. But as it started to thin, as my experience of life increased,
Yeah.
you can't keep pushing it up. So you've got to push it down.
Push it down, yeah.
And I think that's what happened
That was
to
probably
Axl.
what was already. But to finish off the Stevie James thing, I think that era of the marquee in Wardour Street was coined by the night Stevie James chased Malcolm down Wardour Street with a plank of wood.
What for?
I was over. Oh God, who
A
knows?
review.
Probably.
Something he'd said.
Yeah. But that was the scene on Wardour Street. You would, the marquee was the opposite was the. There was the terrible restaurant, the Swiss restaurant that had the bar upstairs. San
Zanzibar?
Moritz.
Oh, San Moritz.
San Moritz. It had the bar upstairs, didn't it? And
I nearly got into a fight there one night.
Yeah. And then the pub. Was it the
Ship.
The Ship.
There was
yeah.
the Ship and there was another one.
Yeah, the
down other
Intrepid
end.
Fox.
Intrepid Fox. The
that's it.
Intrepid
The
Fox.
Intrepid Fox. And it was like a little scene.
Hmm.
So when Guns N' Roses walked into this, it was kind of like if you went to a UFO convention and an actual UFO landed and, aliens got out and it would be like, oh my. So, the whole influence of this scene and the English and British kids trying to ape the scene by having their hair up and playing their version of glam metal, all of a sudden into this come the real deal themselves, Guns N' Roses.
And
know.
you could tell they were the real deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
to get back to this story I've been trying to tell.
Oh, sorry, were you trying to tell a story? Is it about your
Did
hair
you
or
read
is
the
it?
tweets that are saying John keeps interrupting?
I don't know. I only read the tweets that said, "What a fantastic singer." That was the tweet I read. What a wonderful
So-
voice.
Other than the marquee, which I occasionally would go back secretly to,
Yeah.
like a secret gig, I would
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would go secretly. I'm not. You ain't seen
They'd
me.
rush you in with a little
They would
blanket
with a
over your head.
blanket
Yeah,
over my head. That's
yeah.
right. So I go up to Manchester. Funnily enough, with Mad Malcolm
Yeah.
and a couple of other lunatics, we drive up to Manchester for the first show of the Guns N' Roses / Faster Pussycat UK tour,
Yeah.
which was 7 shows, none of which were remotely sold out. Went to the Manchester Apollo, which is a theatre, and all of the top section was closed. And you didn't have to stay in your seats, so everybody just went down the front. So it felt good, unless you actually turned round and looked around you, the empty crickets, Faster Pussycat come on first. And of course, I've heard some of their records, seen the pictures.
Got your number on the
My
bathroom
bathroom
wall. Great song.
I
Great
thought they were
days.
absolutely
Terrible.
fantastic. No,
Oh.
they were fantastic. They were so fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought, shall we leave? 'Cause
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses, they're
They're
not
not
going
gonna
to
be that good.
No, not as this. It's not like this.
Not as good as Faster Pussycat. Are
As
you
good as-
joking?
Tie me down.
Tie me all down, mate.
Tie me down, kangaroo.
Yeah.
So,
And Brent Muscat.
yeah, Brett Muscat.
Brett
Man,
Muscat.
now you're
Now
fucking
you're
talking.
talking.
They could have
Proper
combined and
band.
called it Guns and Pussycats
Well,
or
I think that-
Faster Roses.
Yeah, I think in everyone's mind that was kind of they could have done
So Faster Pussycat finished to an enormous
a reception.
reception,
Yeah,
ovation,
an ovation,
an ovation.
a standing O,
We were already standing,
Yeah.
but we added the O.
a standing O, as Derek Smalls calls it.
Absolutely, that they still do now.
Yeah.
When I was on tour with Thunder last year, we got a standing O every night. We did. It's fantastic.
Well,
Mind you, I
Thunder-
was standing
hang
on
on,
the stage
hang
going,
on.
"Shut up!
Oh.
Shut up! Shut up!
I was
Shut
say,
up!"
I think Thunder got a standing ovation. I don't know if you got it. What were you doing? Vocals or what?
Oh, well, no, me, Danny, and Luke.
Oh, okay, me old me.
Me old meats. Anyway, we are digressing. So I'm like, fuck this. Seen the best band. Time to go home.
Yeah.
Because don't forget,
We're in
seen
Manchester,
a
mate.
million, I'd rocked a million towns
And-
and rocked them all in those days.
Yeah.
You know. Don't need this. But Mad Malcolm is like, no, got to stay, got to stay, got to
Yeah,
stay.
because he was the he was the one who was
the
obsessed
guy.
with
He was
them,
the guy. Yeah. But then Malcolm was also the guy for Man o' War and
Yeah,
Dumpy's
yeah.
Rusty Nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there wasn't a huge quality filter there.
No,
But when he was right, God damn,
yeah,
he was right.
He was right. Yeah, and he was right about Guns N'
He
Roses.
certainly fucking
Yeah,
was. So they come on, and I can't believe it because to me, Faster Pussycat were 9 out of 10. You know?
Yeah. KKK.
Yeah, KKK and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
They were KKK and
And
3/4.
Yeah, almost the 5.
7, 8.
Yeah,
And then Guns N' Roses come on and take it all the way to 11.
yeah,
They were KKK and a couple more.
yeah. A couple more for luck.
Just for luck,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
yeah,
They come on and mind truly blow.
yeah.
And, all kidding aside, I had seen a million gigs. The first 500,000 bands no one had ever heard of. So I know what it's like to see nobodies and tell who's good and who might have something. It was always a matter of opinion. Guns N' Roses came on. It wasn't a matter of opinion.
Yeah,
They just were amazing. To me, it was like the only equivalent I could think of at the time, and that's just in my imagination because I was too young to have been there, but it was trying to imagine what it would have been like seeing Led Zeppelin for
Yeah.
the first time.
yeah.
Or, I don't know, or someone like that, So afterwards, we go backstage, and
Of
every
course he
one
did. Of course he went backstage.
course.
He wanted to go home an hour earlier.
Well,
now it's all like, oh, hi, Axel. Ooh, ooh, ooh."
No, I'll tell you what happened. I walk up, and here comes Slash in top hat with bottle of Jack Daniels in hand. Hey, man, Malcolm, hug, Izzy wanted to see if he could have a toke on my joint.
Yeah,
I'll leave you to figure out what that means, children. Duff was just drunk and
incoherent.
yeah, basically very incoherent, lovable,
Yeah.
in that kind of adorable puppy
Sort
sitting
of
there
bass
shitting
player
himself.
type way.
Yeah.
You're
Not-
thinking he's not the man.
No,
He's not the man I
That's
need to
not
get
who
to.
needs my attention.
Exactly.
Or let me put it another way. That's not someone deserving
Yeah.
yet of,
Of
my
my,
attention.
yeah. Because when you want a cover story, boys, this is who you come and see.
So next thing, Stephen Adler comes up to me. And he goes,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
Stephen, this is Mick.
Dude.
Where can I get some fucking Quaaludes, man? And I'm thinking
Because
two
this
things.
is England, mate. You don't have fucking
fir-
Quaaludes.
Two things was my first reaction was actually Quaaludes. Do they still do Quaaludes? Because that was like a 70s thing in
Yeah.
America. And then I thought, even in the 70s, you couldn't get Quaaludes in the UK. You could get something called Mandrax, which was
Yeah.
by 87
Yeah.
Band.
But I mean, Quaaludes, weren't they something? They were prescribed to sort of housewives and things, weren't they? Who were having a terrible time. Rock stars got them by nicking them off their mums. Have got into them, and they just turn you into a kind of a, zombie type figure.
That's what I
But you're
liked about
floating on air, man. If you're on Quaaludes, you're not it's not a cocaine type high. That's
Come closer to the mic. 'Cause I wanna hear-
Cocaine.
I want to hear from this drug expert about the differences
He's
between
never taken any of
Quaaludes
them.
and cocaine.
As I understand it, from the physician's desk reference,
So I explained to Stephen that you can't get Quaaludes anymore. Man, bummer. Wow. You know, I said, but you can get mandrakes. Cool. Got any mandrake? I said, no, I don't.
Personally.
And at 11 o'clock at night in Manchester
Yeah.
on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
I don't think there's an enormous chance of finding any. Bummer, man. Whoa. Give me the thumbs down. Whoa. I'm like, okay, had enough of this guy.
Yeah.
And we're getting
A
ready to
lot
leave.
of people did have that reaction to Stephen.
No sign of axe. By the way, love Stephen, but I it's only
Yeah,
first
yeah,
met.
no, good guy, but no, just so that kind of, again, overwhelming puppy doggish.
Very
charm.
much so,
Yeah, yeah.
very much so. No sign of Axel, but I'm not bothered. I mean, I don't know any of them, so and it's all going off at once, you know. And at this point, 87, you know, probably my last time backstage had been a week before with Def Leppard or Bon Jovi or Whitesnake or people that clearly
Sold albums.
did party hard, but not in front of the journalists, or if they did, that's why so many of my stories used to refer to people being drunk, because you couldn't say they were high.
It's like a code.
Well, because drunk was legal and funny and ha, we got hammered, you know, as opposed to having a bad cold. David, nobody leaves till David finds his razor blade. So for me, it was exciting because people didn't talk about drugs. I mean, one of the very first things Slash said to me was how he just fucked some porn star and he's worried he got AIDS.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, my name's
There's a
Mick.
there's
My
a
name's
conversation
Mick. Very nice
starter.
to meet
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, very nice to meet you. Yeah,
Just making the
man.
usual chit chat. Yeah. Did you?
I just fucked a porn star and I'm worried I've got AIDS.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Okay. Yeah. What was her name? Have we seen any of her films?
Have we met? I'm sorry.
I'm sure she's lovely.
I'm sure
Yeah.
deep inside.
Yeah, inside she's fine. yeah.
Lovely.
Not actually inside.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. You're the drug guy.
Well, I
you
mean,
tell
you
me.
know, in the end, Slash is still with us, so we presume the emergency passed by.
Averted.
It was averted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just going. In my memory, the dressing room was upstairs. So we're going to say it was upstairs. It's quite normal in a theatre. And we're leaving. So we're just about to go down the stairs, and coming up the stairs is W. Axl Rose.
Little. It's like seeing Ronnie Dio come up the
It was a
stairs,
little
isn't it?
bit,
He's
yeah.
a little tiny bloke.
And also, he's kind of hunched
Hunched
over.
up, little tiny hunched up.
So even though he
because a
wasn't
lot of them are very small, you know.
Well, him in particular, he was a bit like a Thunderbird puppy.
Yeah,
big head,
tiny
little
body,
Yeah.
yeah,
He
yeah.
could have been in the Cause. Did you ever see the Cause? The three girls and the.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant, and then I thought no, he didn't say the cause. The cause, the three
they always had really big heads and-
Amazonian, really attractive women, and the bloke.
Oh, they weren't Amazonian. Only the heads.
Well,
were
I mean,
Amazon.
yeah,
The
yeah,
bodies
I
were
never
kind
saw them
of
up close.
doll-like,
right?
I'm told. And then they had the brother who ended up
Yeah.
marrying a girl that
He's-
looked like one of the sisters.
Yeah, and he's
what's
got-
going on there?
He's a nutso conspiracy theorist bloke now.
Hey,
I just thought
all I
I'd throw
can
that
tell
in
you
there.
is he married a girl that looked exactly like his three sisters.
Yeah, but if your sisters look like the cause, I mean, come on. It's not like he married a girl who looked like his sister and she looked like Hattie Jakes, you know.
No. Okay. So here comes Axel. Introductions. And
So he wasn't scurrying to get somewhere. I imagine when you said he was coming up the stairs, he was sort of, because he always had that sort of very determined
Intense,
look on his
Oh, no,
face,
he
like
was,
he's trying
yeah.
to fuck off.
Yeah, no, he was
I'd imagine he
exactly
was
like that.
scurrying up the stairs.
He was.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what was happening. But he sees Malcolm, who's just a step ahead of me going down the stairs. And he struck me as the most sober, the most sensible, the easiest to talk to, the kind of nicest and well-mannered. Big fuss of Malcolm. Thank you so much, you guys on Kerrang, everything you've done for us. It really means a lot. Thank you. Oh, this is Mick Wall. Oh, man, so great to meet you. Blah, 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 blah. Mick's going to be reviewing tonight. Oh, well, you know, come to another show because we weren't that great tonight, you know. Just really very nice.
In other
young
words,
man.
exactly how he stayed for the rest of his career.
Well, in fairness to Axel, I did...
You were a real dick to him, in fairness. That's why he wrote Get in the Ring. Because he's a dick, man. You remember that time you coming down the stairs, you blew him off.
Yeah.
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 You blew it. He
I
said,
went,
"Hey,
what's your
you
name?
were-" Yeah.
Axe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm reviewing tonight, and it wasn't very good, was it?
Yeah, I am reviewing tonight, but
Faster Pussycat were great.
yeah, I thought you
I
were
saw
good,
Faster
but-
Pussycat, and I thought no one's going to better that tonight.
and I was right.
Yeah, exactly.
And guess who was right?
Yeah. So scurry on up the stairs.
Yeah, you scurry up the stairs.
Yeah, scuttle.
Bill.
Scuttle up the stairs, mate.
Bill.
Yeah. You're a little bloke. Ronnie Dio, Blaze Bailey, Bruce Dickinson, all of those, they're all little. Axel, Tie Me Down.
Timey Down was another huncher.
Yeah, I mean.
He had the shoulders.
Yeah.
I always felt if he stood
always
up
thought-
straight, he'd be a lot taller.
Yeah, probably. A bit, you know, who I think he was, it's sort of like Marilyn Manson, who was quite big, but always kind of hunched over. You know, always that sort of like he just
Hang
had
on,
a,
Tie Me
had a
Down
cape
was like
on.
Marilyn Manson.
Don't you think they kind of look vaguely alike? They've got sort of long noses and you don't know.
I don't know where you're going with this.
I just think they kind of look a bit. They're archetypes, you know.
I've never seen this pair of them in the same room.
Well, Tie Me Down did have a phase where he went completely goth after the whole hair metal thing didn't pan out. He sort of went a bit sex dungeon, you know, in the way that's unfortunately recurred on Marilyn Manson.
Okay.
Let's get off
But
that subject.
I
Axel was small.
I'm not
Anyway,
going to say I got to know him, but I got to see him because I ended up going to LA not long after that and sort of staying there for a while.
no.
Slash was the one I
Surely
got
not.
to know, which will reprise that story another time. But Axel, you'd always see him around. I mean,
Yeah.
compared to a few years later where no one had seen him forever,
Yeah.
he was always around. He was always at the Rainbow. They always showcase gigs at the Roxy. He would turn up, Cat House, of course. And he'd always be with his half-brother Stuart, who I did get to know a little bit.
Yeah.
And Del James, so it's a little entourage that
Yeah.
probably he still has. And my strong
gave-
feeling was that he was a good guy. I liked him.
Yeah.
I thought he was
Didn't
talented.
he gave Del a job writing the lyrics, didn't he? Threw him a bone every now and again.
I don't know what you're
I'm
on
sure
about.
he got a co-writing credit.
I know he did.
Yeah, well, there you go.
He got $300,000 advance on that.
See, see, now we're getting to it, folks. Gather round the microphone. Now you're going to hear the real stories are going to come out now.
Del was a good guy.
He is a good guy. Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Is he still alive?
Well, I don't know. You said he was a good guy. I thought,
Yeah, that doesn't mean he's dead.
just like Axel was a good guy for a while.
No,
Let's
no,
get
I'm
on to
talking
the
about
bit.
in those
Let's
days.
get on to the bit where Axel's a bad guy.
I never thought...
Because I think the one thing we don't need to talk about is how big Appetite gets so quickly.
Yeah, we know that.
And we've spoken before about what happened at Donington on a previous episode. And we've spoken about Use Your
Let's
Illusion.
talk about
Listen, if
Axel.
you want to hear about all of those things, look at the little list of Get Your Rocks Off, and it'll tell you what episode it's in, and they're all
Well,
great.
let me
They're
tell you
all
about
great.
Axel, the man that I got to know a little bit.
Axel, this is title of his autobiography, Axl Rose, The Man I Knew, by Mick Wall.
Or did he know me?
Yeah,
It was one
Oh,
way or the other.
That's
I
the
don't-
first line. ... Or did he know me? Did we ever
Did
really...
I find the darkness, or did the darkness find?
Yeah,
That's a Jimmy Page
yeah.
line. Silly. ass.
It's a good one.
I liked him.
Sounds like a
he
Del
struck
James
me as
line.
he struck me as someone whose musical tastes were very similar to mine in the sense that he wasn't going
Cabaret.
to talk to you
The
about.
cabaret end of rock.
He wasn't going to talk to you
Elton
about
John, Queen. Come on, what influences apart from that?
Queen, Elton John, 10cc, Bowie, ELO. Me and
Yeah.
him are both ELO
Oh,
big fans.
Really don't like it.
El Dorado, that's the album you need to check out.
I'm
where
not
you're-
going to be checking it out.
Next time we
Announce
talk,
it now.
Next time we talk, we'll be doing a special on El Dorado.
I guarantee you I won't have listened to it. I'm quite happy to talk about
Get
it.
you out of my head.
See, this is what's like him and Axel sitting backstage going, "Oh, can't get you out of my head." Now let's do some Elton. Goodbye, Norma Jean.
No, Axel's
he-
favourite Elton song was
Rocket Man.
Bum,
No?
bum, 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 Run, dun, 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 run, dun. Benny,
Oh, really? Was it? I
Benny.
don't like that. That's not his best one, in my
Benny.
view.
Benny and the Jets. I did a show on Capital Radio in London.
And you did that one.
And I interviewed him for the show, but we also had this segment called Let's Go Back to Your Childhood, where listeners would write in and give us 3 songs from their childhood, and we would play them with a bit of juice in between. And so we did one for Axl. What are the 3 tracks?
Because he really wanted to be reminded of his childhood.
Hey, he spoke eloquently. When it came to music, these are the tracks that got him to sit down. Okay, so I've told you one was Benny and the Jets by Elton John.
Yeah.
What are the other 2?
Oh, that's a good one because you're now going back to that
Era. It's the
era.
70s. Here's a clue.
So,
it's the 70s.
Yeah, no, but early 70s.
Early to mid.
Early to mid.
Early to mid.
And Axl's in the middle of, where did he grow up? It was
Lafayette.
Indiana.
Bumfuck Indiana.
Exactly. So it's not as if, cool bands are passing through.
No, but the local radio, in America in those days, the Midwest, it was a stream rock classics, singles.
Yeah,
singles. There's a clue that would have got in the chart.
I'm
going to have to stop you there and tell you because I see this not.
It's not going to get. It's not going to get anywhere.
I'm not in love.
Oh, okay, yeah. So don't forget it.
It's
just a silly phase I'm going through. Da 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 da. I'm not in love. No. Just that little English. Because that one, yeah.
You're a rocket queen.
I thought you were going to go. You're the one that I want. That was his other favourite. Big Grease fan.
Big Grease fan. Yeah. Him and Olivia, same hair.
Yeah.
No. So that was 10cc. I'm Not in Love. He loved that. And here's my contribution to art. He didn't know how to pronounce the title of the other one he really loved of the 3 he chose.
Inagada Davida.
No.
Okay.
As he put it, Led Zeppelin and Dire Maker.
Oh, okay, really?
From Houses of the Holy.
Yeah.
And I had to tactfully explain it's not pronounced Dire Maker, it's Jamaica.
I was told by a very distinguished novelist that you should never take the piss out of someone who mispronounces something they've only ever read. It's because they've not heard it pronounced.
I didn't take the piss.
No. I'm just saying that's a general rule. I think it's a really good rule to follow. Because quite often you read something and you just internalise it by reading it, and that becomes the way you think about it.
Yeah.
So
I remember I used to read a lot of Henry Miller, and many, many years later, that writer, is it Goethe? Goethe? You spell it G-O...
Again, there's another one. Yeah, Goethe, which you don't know how you would necessarily pronounce. Yeah.
I was reading Henry Miller in the early 80s, and then in the early 2000s, in the Classic Rock office one day, I said to someone, "Who do you think you are? Goethe?"
Yeah.
And no one understood. I went, "Goethe."
Yeah.
I thought, none of them have read Henry Miller. They're all fucking idiots. And Sian, who did a double degree in English and American literature, she goes, "Oh, you mean Goethe?"
Yeah. But it's because you've never heard anyone say it. You've only read it. And the same way
that was a fucking sacking offence.
Yeah, Axl's just sat in his room reading Jamaica.
In fairness, I thought it was Dire Maker for years as well. Yeah. I didn't realise they were making a little joke.
A pun, But I mean, it's
make Jamaica?
Yeah.
It's a reggae track. Jamaica.
Yeah. But it's a kind of English. Puns are sort of English type humour, aren't they? You don't get a lot of that in America.
No. You get there's no humour in America.
No, they're not funny.
There's no funny people in America.
No.
God, no. Let's get that straight.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why
Happy
Axl
Days
took himself so seriously.
Yes, because
no humour.
Yeah. So those were his 3.
Yeah.
So
I'm saying okay. So my point is, it wasn't Black Sabbath, Deep Purple.
No, I get it. Yeah.
And Wishbone Ash or something. Yeah. When they opened for Iron Maiden on their '88 tour. They got to LA, Axl suddenly had throat problems and he couldn't do the 2 shows at Irvine Meadows, which was like 17,000 people a show. And, it soon came out there's nothing fucking wrong with him. He just would not appear in LA at that point his hometown, the band's hometown, opening for Iron Maiden because he hated Iron Maiden. To him, they were everything he wasn't. Now, as you know, I did not hate Iron Maiden, but I understood where, as a fan, culturally, you know, he is Zeppelin, he is the Stones, he is Elton, Bowie, Queen. He is not Sabbath, Maiden.
Yeah, Judas Priest.
Judas Priest, there you go. Perfect fill-in. Exactly, John, yeah.
Thank you.
You know something about it. You've done this before.
Yeah.
So I did empathise with him like that. It's like with Slash, he would always talk about how the first Aerosmith album was amazing and blah, blah, blah. But even Slash would talk about Chaka Khan, would talk about all kinds of music that wasn't Kerrang type rock and metal. And I think therein lies the success. One major component, not the only one, of course, but one major component. The difference between Guns N' Roses, say, and LA Guns, or Love Hate, or Poison, or Motley Crue.
Yeah.
I know Nikki Sixx for a fact loved Bowie and Elton, all those people too, but their kind of frame of reference musically was far more at that end of the spectrum, which was to do with kicking ass.
Yeah.
Kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah.
Where Axl's was listening to the full version of Layla.
Exactly.
Particularly the instrumental bit at the end.
Which is, as we saw as soon as they made Use Your Illusion and suddenly had the scope to indulge these fantasies.
Right.
And I think, you know, as I say, we've spoken about Use Your Illusion, probably don't need to recover that ground, apart from to say this is around the time that your relationship with him became something else entirely.
Yeah, and it was a real shame. I mean, we're in my house right now, and I can take you into my study and show you the gold records that I got from Guns N' Roses because I was considered, you know, very much one of the team. GNR Lies, they gave me a lovely gold record for that.
Co-writer. Basically, co-wrote that record.
Well, basically, they were saying, if it hadn't been for you, Mick,
we wouldn't have done this record.
We would never have made it.
Yeah, yeah. And look at it now.
No.
Was that the one with Patience on?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. That was really good, wasn't it? Yeah.
But in those days, I had a radio show, I had a TV show, I was writing for Kerrang. No, what I mean
You're
is...
not Axl Rose.
No. The point I'm making is that they would have given these to other DJs or bloke at MTV or whatever. It wasn't that I was their amazing friend, but I was definitely one of the good guys, particularly for all of them, except Axl. Although I was with Axl until the famous night when I get a phone call, it's gone midnight, get over here now, I've got something I want to say, I've just been reading this shit in Kerrang, which funnily enough I think was a story you wrote.
Oh really? I can't.
See, it's your fucking fault. It's Axl, if you're listening, it's him, not me.
Axl.
Not me, it was him, not me. You wrote the story about Vince Neil.
I haven't even got a clue what you're talking about.
You fucking liar. You're a GNR liar. Liar,
Vince,
GNR
look,
on fire.
me and Vince weren't exactly top chums by this point.
Not what I heard.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I heard you and him used to hang at the Tropicana.
This would have been the same time Nikki Sixx wanted to physically kill me.
Oh, a lot of people wanted to physically kill you in those days, John.
Yeah.
You know that. Iron Maiden, everybody.
Yeah. It was nice. It was a nice time to be alive.
It was a mark of respect.
It was seen as a mark of respect. How many hits you had out on you.
You wrote the story where Vince Neil clobbers Izzy Stradlin at the American Music Awards.
Are you trying to say that didn't happen?
I'm trying to say you wrote the story.
Yeah, because it happened.
Axl read the story, rang, and asked me to get my ass over there so he could give the correct version.
And the correct version was Vince wasn't the kind of guy you wanted to fuck with.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying I got the correct version, but I got Axl's version, and he was so furious. I mean, I walk into his apartment, and although they are now at this point, you know, they are Guns N' Roses by now. Appetite has been #1, and blah blah blah. GNR Lies had come out a year before. This is 89. This is beginning of 1990.
Yeah.
And I walk in, and it's not smashed up, but it's, you know, in a bit of disrepair, maybe, probably just
You
untidy.
mean he didn't tidy up before you came round?
Now, what I mean is, it looked a bit like he'd been
He's so
having a moment.
inhospitable.
And he goes into one of his rooms, and I can hear him yelling. And
Did he have leather trousers on?
I don't know.
Did he have trousers on? Because he was at home
don't
kicking
know.
back. He was at home kicking back.
Kicking back.
I'm just trying to get a picture in my head of.
Okay.
The way you painted him running up the stairs that time was good. I just trying to get a picture.
Okay, this
now.
was different. Okay, so that time up the stairs, obviously he'd been on stage. He showed the
Yeah.
big hair in
Yeah,
those
yeah.
days and all the gear. This is very straight hair, nondescript T-shirt that looked like he'd been wearing it for days.
Yeah.
I want to say tracksuit bottoms, but I don't think that ever happened.
Oh
No, I don't think that ever happened.
please.
No.
Adidas tracksuit bottoms.
No,
You got a Sports
no,
Direct.
no.
And sliders.
Tesco bounties.
yeah.
No, but that was the vibe.
So I know what it would be like. It would be like sort of Beastie Boys, iced tea type tracksuit, shiny
I
tracksuit.
don't know. I'm not saying he wore a tracksuit bottoms. I'm saying it
You
was
did.
that
You
kind of
definitely- You
vibe.
definitely said a tracksuit.
No, I said-
in
I
my
said-
head, he's now got a tracksuit on.
And a big gold ring with a coin
Yeah,
in it.
but the the legs. So you had to roll the legs up a bit because he's quite.
Oh, you are
Anyway,
Axel.
Axel, yeah.
We're gonna get John's personal address later.
I wouldn't be
so
scared.
you can get in the ring.
This
with
was the
Axel.
whole point. The whole ridiculous thing was Vince was the kind of guy you wouldn't want to have a fight with. He was
Definitely
sort
not.
of Barrio type
Yeah,
character.
tough Mexican.
Axel was the kind of guy. He'd be the kid at school in the playground who'd completely lose it and windmill their arms around,
That's
you know.
it, yeah.
And you just had to kind of stay out of his way and you'd be all right. Yeah.
Yeah, Izzy told me the first time he ever became aware, because they went to school together, became aware of Axel. He said they were out in the, going between classes in the hallway, loads of kids around. He said, suddenly there was this big noise, like big commotion. And he turns around, and it's like a cartoon where they're having a dust up and it's just clouds and arms and legs.
Yeah.
He said, and I could hear like, fuck you, and then some books being thrown on the ground. Because next thing, this kid with red hair is just running past me. Like, fuck you!
Yeah.
He goes, and that was the first time I ever
Ever
became...
saw- yeah,
he said,
yeah.
so when him and his band were looking for a singer, he goes, I thought, well, that guy's crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe he'd be good.
He'd be good, yeah.
And of course, very first audition, Axel does the mic drop after 2 numbers and runs out the door. Fuck you guys, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, because
Is he
that's
go-
him.
and
But
is he
that's
go-
him. So he's not like a sort of a...
He'd have to wait to be a rock star to do that.
No,
That's just who he is.
But the point we're getting across is he's putting on a bit of a tough guy act, but at heart he's not a tough guy. That's not his character particularly.
No, but I don't think it is an act. I think it's not a tough guy act. I
Well, it
suppose
was
it's
when he
part
was
of that.
going around all the guns and knives, motherfucker, all that stuff. He's not the sort of bloke who at heart is like that.
Well, he didn't turn up
You
for
know,
the fight.
he
Vince
didn't-
did, and
you know,
he
he
didn't.
exactly. I mean, some guys,
He needed to vent.
I'll give you another example. Tony Iommi. Tony Iommi would knock you out. You know, there wouldn't be a dispute about it. It would
But he
just be
wouldn't
like-
tell you. He wouldn't
no,
warn
no,
you.
because he wouldn't warn you. He's just one of those guys who like, bang,
Yeah.
a fighter, a natural sort of fighter type
Yeah.
bloke.
Yeah.
Vince is that sort of character. Axel's very much not that sort of character.
You know, one of the guys at Tony Iommi, one of the music journalists at Tony Iommi, punched the shit out. Don't forget, Tony Iommi's got hands like
Yeah, he's a
shovels.
fucking big guy. Yeah.
But he's got those hands.
Yeah.
They're literally like the size of baby seals.
Yeah.
Are they big? Full-grown seals. Giant seals.
On the end of his giant wrists.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's like Mr. Crab in
Yeah.
SpongeBob.
Yeah.
You know? And Alan Jones from the Melody Maker.
Oh, did he?
Great writer,
Yeah.
big personality, known for his humour. Had written some ridiculously hilarious review of Black Sabbath for Melody Maker in about 78 or something. And long story short, he gets invited to Iommi's house to do a follow-up interview.
Right.
And Iomi says to him, Alan's like, "Oh, I'll just set up my tape recorder." And Tony goes, "First, I
Before
want,
you
you to,
do
I want you
that.
to come out to the garden."
Yeah.
So you know what it's like.
Yeah, you just do it,
All
don't
right,
you?
I'll
Yeah,
come to
yeah,
the garden.
yeah.
And Alan said, as he was walking to the garden, Naomi was taking off his expensive watch.
Oh God.
Took off his expensive watch because he's left-handed.
Yeah.
And as he goes, "Yes, Tony." What he goes, smack,
Yeah.
like a fucking pile driver straight in the face. Alan's decked out.
Yeah.
make your own fucking way on. Fuck you,
Yeah.
And then Alan got punched a second time by Phil Lynott.
Oh, yeah, he's another bloke you wouldn't want to punch.
Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
I
Please.
was there for this one. It was
Right.
fantastic. This is 79, 80, whatever. The launch party for the Black Rose album.
Yeah.
So I'm working with Wild Horses, Brian Robertson and Jimmy Bain, managed by the two Chris's who managed Lizzie. So we're all at the party. And Phil Lynott had this, great man to hang out with, of course. But as an Irishman, he had this very kind of maudlin streak. Which had come at that, the ballad of the
Yeah,
hard.
the whiskey was in the jar.
The whiskey was
Yeah,
in the jar.
yeah.
And he would start talking about my people.
Yeah.
And he's given it all this. And Jonesy, who's Welsh, goes, well, Phil, he goes, just to be clear, which people are we talking about? The blacks or the Irish?
Oh, dear.
He didn't say blacks.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
He said a word we are no longer allowed to use. But this is 79, when everybody used that word. He said, well, Phil, are we talking about the blacks or the Irish? And Lynott, who also had fucking hands like tree trunks, bass player,
Yeah.
he literally just turned around and went smack. And it was like in a cartoon because we were at the bar. And Jonesy literally just went backward all the way the length of the bar with his arms knocking everything flying. And immediately people ran up to Phil going, you all right, Phil? Anything we can do, mate? Get that fucker out of here. They went, no problem. Jonesy gets carried to the door.
Yeah, chucked out.
Poor
Yeah.
Jonesy.
Yeah.
There's a great picture of Jonesy on his Facebook page where he's talking to Lou Reed when Lou Reed was Lou Reed in the 70s. And it's fantastic because Lou Reed always treated everybody like utter shit on his shoe. And he's standing there being Lou Reed, and then next to him is this red, sweaty, clearly drunken Welshman who's like,
Yeah.
giving him a real ear
Earful,
bashing,
yeah,
telling
yeah,
him,
yeah.
I'll tell you another thing now, boy.
Yeah.
And Lou Reed's like,
Yeah.
Lou Reed wants to punch him, but he's just,
Too cool.
that wasn't the word I was going to use, but he's a bit of an Axel.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
ain't a punching
He
guy.
ain't a fighter. So you turn up at Axel's apartment or whatever
Yes,
it is.
yes.
You're slightly aghast at the state it's in. I mean, he's not tidied up. There's washing up in the sink. He's wearing, if you can believe this, people, he is wearing a tracksuit.
He's not wearing a fucking tracksuit. I'm saying the vibe was, I'm at
The
home.
vibe was tracksuit.
He was probably wearing jeans. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what he was wearing because he sits down. He sat down. The coffee table is covered in objets, including a fart ball. So as he's talking to me, going, "Yeah, I got it. Talking really deep. I can't do the voice deep. I can't do it. It's so deep. Yeah, I got this." I said to Vince, "Guns are not."
And he's ranting about what's in Kerrang at this point.
"Oh yeah,
Yeah. So he's got the magazine itself
Yes.
in front of him.
fucking guy says here, I fucking tell you, this is like my statement to the people, you know."
Yeah.
I said, "Why are you?" He goes, "It's for tension." He goes, "When I'm stressed, I squeeze this. When I'm stressed." I'm going, right.
Oh, yeah,
I said, "Nice table, by the way." He goes, "Yeah." I won't do the voice because I can't. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "It's the third one I had." I said, "What happened to the first two?" And first one went out that window.
Yeah.
And we're like on the 20th floor. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Turns out it did. And
Yeah.
the second one he just smashed up.
Yeah.
You know what it's like.
Second one he just didn't like.
You get off the
Yeah.
phone, it's been a
Yeah.
bad call. We get
Yeah.
a fucking hammer and smash
You smash your table
the
up.
$1,000 coffee table.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just did that this morning, didn't
Yeah.
I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Every day. So we sit down and he does the big rant about Vince. I mean, he's begun before. I'm trying to set up and he's already going. I want to smash that plastic face, guns or knives, any way you want to go, motherfucker, something like that. But here's the thing. That goes on for about 2 hours. And at the end of that, because there's only so much ranting you can do. And after a while, it's boring. So I'm starting to seize the moment to get him to talk about other things. How are we doing for time, John?
Well, fine.
You don't know, do you?
No.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap it up soon. But
I'm the only thing I'm thinking is two-parter, because we've barely touched on.
All right.
We're only up to the point where, this is what's going to seed Get in the Ring in his mind.
it is.
And so we're only there. We've not even spoken about Alan Niven. We've not spoken about the Chinese democracy and the supreme madness of that.
Yeah.
I mean, what a man Axel is. Even in disappearing, he provides material.
Yeah. No, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Let's give it another few minutes then, just
Yeah,
to round.
no. That's just. It was just. I was
you know what it is? My whole life ever
editorially,
since.
I was leaping ahead. I was thinking, God, there's still this, there's still that. I love this stuff.
Listen,
I love this stuff.
dude. We're gonna come back and do
Good.
By the
I
way,
don't wanna-
every week, anybody
Every
that's
week,
still listening,
every week we're going to do this.
you
gonna-
lightweights that bail after the first 10
When
minutes.
you
if you're
tuned
still
in,
here now,
when you tuned in Thursday night, 1 minute after 12, you did not know Axl Rose was at home in his tracksuit, getting ready to fucking start hating Mick Wall. Now you know that.
I think you are spreading lies and
GNR
starting
lies.
rumours,
As I did with the Vince interview, which I completely made up.
and you ripping off. The
Didn't
key.
even speak to Vince. Vince, you all right, mate? Just didn't listen. Oh, he said something like he wants to punch Axel or something. I don't know what he said.
Or did you interview him?
I can't remember. I don't even remember
You
the
don't
story.
remember? For
I don't-
fuck's sake.
When you, I mean, it was like years later when you were writing a book about Guns N' Roses, and you said to me,
One of them.
yeah, you said to me, oh yeah, it was all over that story you wrote, and I honestly don't
Really?
even remember
Really?
the story.
Perhaps your tracksuit bottoms were a little too tight.
Maybe they were, yeah.
And it affected
yeah,
your
yeah.
memory,
It was
your
now you
cognitive
talk about
ability.
I do remember the brouhaha at the MTV Awards, and it must have been about that.
I think it was the American Music
Or
Award.
America, whatever it was. And I do remember Axel and Izzy having a fight over something. I mean, not Axel, sorry, Vince and Izzy having a fight over something. But I mean,
Well, the story
you know,
goes,
two drunken blokes backstage at an awards have a fight. I mean, it's, you know.
Vince had heard that his bird at the time, a former mud wrestler,
Charisse.
at Tropicana called Charisse,
Charisse, lovely lady.
had intercourse with Izzy Stradlin while Vince had been on tour with Motley Crue.
Right. But because Vince had gone on tour and decided to be completely faithful throughout that period.
Vince had gone off on tour on the Girls tour.
No way.
Where
did
no girls were involved in the touring.
No way did Vince
No way, did
ever betray his wife on that tour.
mud wrestling
Yeah,
Tropicana
kind of like-
wife.
He would think about her every night. I can't wait to get off stage and call Charisse. I wonder what she's doing.
Meanwhile, Izzy's like,
Well, he is what she's doing.
I used to know this chick on Melrose. What was that song off Use Your Illusion?
I don't know. I don't listen to it.
Oh, fuck off. That wonderful trick.
Oh,
trick,
fuck off.
track.
Yeah.
Someone will write in. They'll be Googling
I
right now
used
going,
to know this chick on Melrose.
that was the opening lyric. I used to know this chick on Melrose. Something like that. And it's about this dominatrix. Is that how you say it, John? You'd know.
Dominatrix.
See, I knew you'd know. And it's about this chick.
That's because
that-
I speak Latin.
So, at the end of this interview, we're now talking about ELO. He wants
No,
to
no,
get
no.
Jeff
You
Lynne-
didn't tell you Vince as it goes
Oh,
to
right,
punch.
right. Sorry, yeah. So,
I'm trying to remind me of the story I wrote.
yeah, the story. Let's remind you of the story
Vince,
you wrote.
Vince decides
Let's
to punch
remind
Izzy.
you of the story which started it all and destroyed
Vin-
my career,
Vince
from which
Neil.
I'm still recovering. My lawyers will be in touch.
Vince Neil, impugned by the knowledge
That
his woman
Charisse.
has been breached by Izzy Stradlin, allegedly.
Allegedly.
But that's
'Cause
all
I
it
don't
takes for
even-
Vince. Vince ain't waiting for the proof. Vince is going down there to find out what happened.
Yeah, and he did. He
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
His fists spoke eloquently.
Yeah.
So according to Axel, he then arrived on the scene. Or
I mean,
he,
again-
no. He was told about it, and
Was
he
he
went
there?
chasing
But
after
he-
Vince. Of
right.
course, he's there. He's at music awards.
Okay.
Him and Izzy got up and played with Tom Petty that night.
Okay.
And according to Axl, he went chasing after Vince.
Because Vince would run away from
Yeah,
Axl.
because he'd just been told what happened. And Axl had to be physically restrained by his minders.
Yeah. Don't just,
Leave it,
I'm gonna hit
leave it,
you.
Axl,
Leave
leave
him.
it.
Leave him. He's not worth it.
He's not worth it,
Yeah,
mate. Come on now, we've all had a drink.
Yeah. Holding him back. But I would, if this guy let me go.
Cut to when your story comes out.
So I
in
write a
print.
story which says, I've heard that at the
Yeah.
American Music
Yeah.
Awards, Vince had beef with his
Spreading
instructor.
lies, rumours
But did
and
it say?
lies.
But did it? What annoyed Axl? Did it say that?
Because it wasn't true.
But it was
Because
true.
you were spreading
just said
lies
it
and
was
ripping
true.
off the kids.
You
That's
just
what it
said
was.
it was true. They did have a fight.
Axl says that whoever wrote that story, you, made it sound as if Vince had kind of duffed Izzy up.
Vince Neil, Mexican tough guy from LA, had beaten Izzy Peace and Love merchant
Jason
Stradlin.
Isabel.
Yeah, who never had a fight with a fly. You know, Izzy's a lover, not a fighter, isn't he?
All I want to, I got 2 words for you.
Yeah.
Spreading lies. And another 4 words, ripping off the kids.
You're ripping off the kids.
So me and Axl sat there. I said, you know what, Axl?
But what
He's been ripping off the
But-
kids.
but
Let's
look,
set this story straight.
Was Axl annoyed that it said Vince had beaten up Izzy, or was Axl annoyed that it didn't say Axe would have beaten up Vince in revenge had he not been held back?
Well, I think if you told the full story like that, we'd have been fine. If you
Okay.
told the truth,
Yeah.
instead of spreading
Instead
lies
of the GNR lies.
and ripping off the kids.
Yeah.
So he tells me all of this, and then we get on to, you know, because at that point it's like, are you ever going to make another album? And he starts telling me about all these amazing songs, and one lasts 52 minutes or something, you know.
So, yeah.
And
Got this one up
and
my
it's all good.
tracksuit
Like
sleeve.
we're now, because for a long he would talk to you with his hair down. He wouldn't make eye contact, which is why years later, because I have a daughter on the spectrum, and I ended up learning a lot about this stuff, did make me think maybe this guy is somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Because particularly young men on the spectrum are intensely focused and
Yeah.
creative, and they really do have to have things exactly the way. I mean, it's no joke. There's no overlap. There's no
Yeah.
Venn diagram.
Yeah.
It's this.
Yeah.
That was Axl. But after a couple of hours, we're now making full eye contact. We're laughing. We're joking. And that's when I say, listen, it was an old-fashioned reel-to-reel. So I've got this thing for my radio show. Can we do something for that? Absolutely. That's when he tells me that I'm Not in Love, Jamaica,
Right,
and,
okay, yeah.
Benny and the Jets.
Right.
And it was a beautiful interview, and we hugged and we laughed, and I love you, man. It's like 4 a.m. And a couple of weeks later, this is all still, I think, typewriters in those days, for me anyway. And I'm transcribing, and it just looks really heavy on the page, you know, guns or knives.
Yeah.
And so I rang his publicist, a woman of our acquaintance, and she said, he's here right now. Do you want to talk to him?
Whenever you rung our letter, it's weird. Whenever you rung it, the person you were inquiring about was always right there.
That's why she was the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was great.
Absolutely, yeah.
So she goes, he's here, you want to talk to him? I'm like, okay. Now, I recorded this as well. I recorded all of the conversations at his apartment, just a 2-bed flat in a posh tower block. I recorded this. I still have all these recordings. And you hear me saying to him, it just looks a bit, he goes, read it to me. So I don't know what bit I read, that will be on the tape, but I tried to pick the worst thing I could find.
Yeah.
So for argument's sake, guns or knives, motherfucker, blah, 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 blah. And he starts laughing. And he goes, I stand by every fucking word. I said, so you want me to, he went, fuck yeah, hell yeah. So I did. And literally the day the article appeared, they got it in LA. It doesn't matter who, but I got someone ringing me saying they were starting a new phone. Remember in those days there'd be phone lines?
Yeah.
This is before the internet. You could ring a magic number.
And you would hear a bit of a song or a bit of
song
an interview.
Or message from the band. Yeah. And they want to put it on that. And I thought, why the fuck would they want to put this on a phone line? So immediately I'm not convinced. But these are my people. Gold record always come. I mean, there were lots of things with Slash in particular that happened that I've never spoken about, not going to speak about, private things.
Yeah.
All the stories I wrote about Guns N' Roses, the really bad shit was never in there. This is why I was a great guy to have around, because I wouldn't fuck things up. And I'm still in that headspace. So I'm like, no, I don't think you really want to run it now. Let me give you something else. No. And then these calls go on for 2 or 3 days, and they not ratchet it up more each time.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm finally told Axl doesn't believe he said some of those things, and he really wants to hear the tape.
Wow.
And at this point, I was super paranoid, because we didn't go from phone line to Axl doesn't believe. It was gradual.
Progressive.
And in my naivety, I genuinely thought if he took the tape, he would doctor it, or I'd never see it again.
Yeah, because in those days, I mean, now you just send an MP3 over. It wouldn't bother you. It wouldn't bother you.
There you go.
It wouldn't bother you because you've still got your... But then, you're right, yeah, you'd have to send him the copy that you had.
And also in those... context is everything. I mean, people say to me now, I have that tape because of this one reason. But I would interview Slash or Bon Jovi or whoever the fuck it was, and the next week I'd use the same tape and tape over it and do the next guy.
Yeah.
Because no one had the foggiest that decades later this stuff might be of any interest whatsoever. Kerrang was weekly. A lot of the interviews were basically, hey, how's it going?
Exactly.
From the last time I saw you a month ago.
Yeah.
You know? And I didn't, and people go, well, why didn't you make a copy? I didn't have anything to make a copy.
But also, how did you? Unless you had 2 tape recorders, you couldn't make a copy. Technology wasn't there. That's what people forget.
I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
And also at this point, I'm insulted.
Yeah.
After all the
Your
things.
journalistic integrity has been impugned.
Well, I felt my integrity as a person, because I didn't pretend I had any integrity as a journalist.
Well, no, you did, because I'm bullshit aside now. You had phoned him and said, look, this looks a bit heavy.
Right.
I'm willing to not run it if it really, you don't want it to. Which not everyone would do that.
I stand by every fucking word. And but also I think my whole shtick in those days was I had incredible access to everybody, and that was because I was the guy that would never stitch you up.
Yeah. Whereas me,
unlike the next generation that followed, who were unscrupulous.
Yeah. Just give me the story today. I just want the story. That's all I want.
So I now dig in my heels, and they say, well, shall we get Axl to ring you? I said, yeah, get him to ring me, but make sure he fucking remembers I'm not Malcolm Dunn.
Yeah.
No, apologies to Malcolm. I could have chosen anybody's name, not yours, obviously.
Because he already didn't like me.
That.
You already didn't like me.
No one liked you. So, I mean, your name was Poison in LA.
Yeah, it was. Even with Poison.
Even down the Bow on a Friday night, they would go, no, not John.
Not him. Not him.
Anyone but him, they would say.
His name's not on the list.
So I'm now taking offence, and I'm on my high fucking horse, because I'm the great Mick Wall, and I would how dare you?
Yeah.
So fuck you, and you're fuck you, blah blah blah, and then cut to about 9 months later. I can't remember, John. It was well over a year and a half before Use Your Illusion came out, and a mutual friend had heard some of the songs, and he kind of tipped me off. But I still found it quite hard to believe.
Yeah, because in that sort of few months, this record has become the single most anticipated record, in sort of contemporary music history over the last sort of 10 years or whatever it was. People were gagging for this record.
Yeah.
I mean, even when it came out, Appetite for Destruction kept selling. That's how much Appetite for Destruction was selling.
Oh, it's still selling now.
Yeah, and Use Your Illusion, when it did come out, one of them went to number 1 and one of them went to number 2, didn't they? When it was,
they were the biggest band in the world.
Biggest band around.
Not just the biggest band, but the coolest, the one with the edge.
Yeah, it was their moment. That was their moment.
Because in 87, 86, 87, the two biggest, in terms of sales and ticket sales and profile, the two biggest bands in the world, rock bands, were Bon Jovi, which had Slippery When Wet in 86, and Guns N' Roses, Appetite had come out in 87, but by 88 in the Sweet Child video in the summer, they were now Guns N' Roses. They were now the most dangerous band in the world. And so no one wanted to take a contrary position. And I've spoken a lot about how I joined a very big club that eventually included all the other members of Guns N' Roses. But I don't want to say that today, because in part 2, when we talk about the Axl that we now learn about after Guns N' Roses implode, it is way more interesting than cheap digs about, oh, well, yeah, and the band got fed up with him. He sacked everybody.
Yeah.
He sacked his wife. He sacked, but that doesn't tell it.
No, that's not the story.
That's not the story. That's just a shitty thing to say to go, fuck you. I withdraw all my fuck yous, and I have nothing but sympathy and empathy for Axl. Doesn't mean he's never done anything terrible. Doesn't mean he didn't damage my career. But he damaged his own career more.
Yeah.
And there are other musicians like this, but I always feel more for Axl, because with the other musicians, whatever their pivotal moment that made them go dark, it tended to be more by choice. They might not have known what they were getting into, but they definitely walked through the door marked crazy or not allowed or forbidden. Axl was born behind that door, and I think has spent a lot of time trying to get the fuck out of there. But he was born into darkness.
Yeah.
And the fact that he did anything with that is remarkable, miraculous. And I genuinely tip my hat to him. I think he is, I wouldn't say the greatest frontman, because, in terms of entertainment, try and beat David Lee Roth when he was David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
In terms of songwriting, there are many, many writers that you can say go deeper. But in terms of, in his time, in his moment, in his world, he pushed all the boundaries. Guns N' Roses went to places they didn't need to go. They could have just done Appetite 2. They all wanted to do Appetite 2. He was the only one that said,
Yeah,
no,
he
no.
was the one who drove them.
He's like, you
forwards.
want to do Motley Crue, I want to do the Beach Boys, the Beatles. To me, when you come to Chinese, or Use Your Illusion even, he's like Brian Wilson in the Sound Pit, trying to create masterpieces for the Beach Boys. They just need another surfing song, but he wants to write something that is immortal.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Brian.
Yeah.
No, and not because he's making a wise choice, because he can't fucking help it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And there is way more of this to talk about. But we're going to leave you there for today.
Superb. Next week, motherfuckers.
Yeah, because we are now weekly. Say it again. Weekly.
Sorry about saying motherfucker. I didn't mean it.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say.
Didn't mean to say that. Sorry.
If you liked this episode, be sure to leave us a review, share it with a friend, or plain old subscribe wherever you happen to listen to it. For full episode show notes, visit nofilter.media/getyourrocksoff.
This has been a No Filter Media production.
Say what you want.